The presenting sponsor for Socially Democratic is Dunn Street. Dunn Street is a campaign agency that specialises in community organising. We only work with people and organisations who want to build power to make the world a better place. And if you want to create change in your world in 2026, then hit us up at dunnstreet.com.au. A special shout out to all of our Patreon members. If you want to join those wonderful supporters of our podcast and financially support our show so we can continue to produce great episodes every week, then we encourage you to click on the link in the show notes and subscribe to join the Patreon community of Socially Democratic. And finally, today's episode is brought to you by Maurice Blackburn Lawyers. For over a century, Maurice Blackburn has stood up for fairness, championing the rights of everyday Australians and shaping landmark legal reforms. Today, they're harnessing new technologies to make justice more accessible, more efficient, and more responsive to the needs of modern Australia. All right, let's get on with today's episode. Okay, we are taping this one on a Thursday afternoon on the lands of the Kaurna people. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Donnelly. I'm the host of Socially Democratic, and I'd like to welcome you all to the only fringe event not talking about AI. I want to thank everyone for coming along to today's episode, and particularly I want to welcome our Patreon subscribers who have made themselves known over the last day and said hello. We really appreciate that. It's nice to put a face to a name. So we're here to talk about the Labor Party membership, how the party can grow our membership and keep our members as well. And to help me unpack some of these challenges and come up with some solutions as well, let me introduce you to our three guests. Our first guest is the Director of Campaigns and Strategy at Unions New South Wales. He's also the Chair of the New South Wales Labor Organising, Recruitment and Training Committee and joined the party in 2010. Would you please welcome Todd Pinkerton? Our second guest is the member for Sandgate in the Queensland Parliament and was elected in 2024. She is the first Muslim elected to the Queensland Parliament, sits on the Queensland Campaign Committee as a former staffer in the federal government and joined the party in 2015 after first-hand experience in navigating our welfare and public health system. Would you please welcome Bisma Asif? And our final guest is the Executive Director of the South Australian Northern Territory McKell Institute. She's a former staffer in the federal government and also in the Northern Territory government. She is a busy mum of two. She's also a local girl and joined the party in 2008. Would you please welcome Hannah MacLeod? Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is, because everyone knows I like a bit of personal story, we're going to get the personal stories of our three guests today about their experience of when they first joined the party, and if I can model to you all my experience to begin with, and I'll try and do it in 60 seconds. I was 17 years of age. It's country Victoria in a town called Warragul. One of my friends at school's mum was the president of the local branch, and I just handed out for Paul Keating in the 1993 federal election and decided that I would join the party. So I went down to join. I remember my dad dropped me off at the Warragul Community Centre and he said, son, and I won't do my dad's Glaswegian accent, he said, this is going to be one of the most boringest meetings you'll ever go to, but I want you to keep the faith because eventually you'll meet some wonderful people that are probably of your same age or similar interests. I walked in and I actually went into my school uniform, pushed the door open, and I thought I walked into the Morris Brothers staff room because all of my teachers were there. Mr. Stagg, Mrs. Worth, you can call me Jeremy. No, I'll call you Mr. Stagg. And I sat there throughout the meeting and didn't say a word. And at the end, when the president or the secretary said, let's move a motion to accept new members, some person came out of the darkness and said, you have to come to 3 branch meetings before you can be accepted as a member. And so everyone looked at each other and they went, oh, okay, so Stephen, you have to come to 3 branch meetings. I came to 3 branch meetings. It was only when I moved to Melbourne and got heavily involved. That rule was removed from the party laws in 1970. So there we go. Anyway, I found my family. So Hannah, tell us how you joined the party.
When I was 2006, John Howard was elected Prime Minister. So then you fast forward, I'm 17, and we're on the precipice of finally having a Labor government. I was very excited for it. And it just so happened that 2007 election fell on the same weekend as schoolies, which down here in South Australia is at Victor Harbour. So all the residents of Victor Harbour evacuate and all high school leavers come. I was 17, I couldn't vote, but I was so excited to finally get a Labor government that I was directing all these inebriated 18-year-olds to the polling booths, telling them to go vote for Labor. So I clearly had it in my blood, and then the following year at O Week at Flinders University, I got given a flyer from the Labor Club, and the rest is history.
Bisma.
I was born in Lahore in Pakistan and moved to Australia when I was 8 years old. My family wanted to move here for a better future for my sister and I, and I'd never thought that I would be joining a political party all through school. We did watch, when Wayne Swan was Treasurer, and thought he did a fantastic job, and we talked about politics, but it was never on the cards until, due to some unfortunate circumstances, I found myself having to move out of home and having to rely on our welfare system, and I also had to become a guardian for my younger sister, and it's actually very hard to do when you are under a certain age. I was 19 at the time, and then found us navigating the welfare system, had some health issues, so the same with our health system, and this was in 2015, so there was a lot of talk about Medicare cuts, and that was the big campaign in 2015, so I ended up joining my university club. I was at UQ studying econ, and very similarly, the rest is history.
Very good. Todd?
So I got my start in the Labor movement and joined the Labor Party through university, which is a pretty common story. But for me, I chose uni. I was first in my family to go to university, and my parents really, really encouraged me to go. And I chose the university I went to because I had heard that it had a very active political life and student unionism. And I joined entirely for that purpose in a lot of ways. I went to the university entirely for that purpose. And then I didn't go to O Week, and I spent the whole first year just desperately trying to get involved in politics. And then there was an opportunity to run on one of the student tickets at one of the SRC or something like that, and got my start basically through student unionism because I was really, really interested in people coming together. Wasn't a member of a party at all, and I think it was at the after party of the election. The Labor Club was involved in the ticket, and I ran into my local member, McKell, the member for Greenway, and she was there supporting all of the young Labor people in her area that had been chosen to run, and she was being really supportive. So I just straddled up to ran up to her and was like, I live in your electorate and I'm really interested in politics, and how do I get involved in Parliament and politics and all this stuff? She was like, yeah, you need to fill out the form first. And so she sent me that pretty quickly, and basically through her asking me was how I got my start, and I just haven't looked back. What was that, 2010? And then a couple of months later, I started working on the 2011 New South Wales state election, and that was the worst outcome. So great first 6 months.
It got better in the end.
Yeah, it has.
Okay, I want to ask a couple of questions of our audience here today. The first one, I don't want to do this in a kind of a singling out who isn't a member of the Labor Party, but I think it would be easier if I ask who isn't a member of the Labor Party as opposed to who is. So raise your hand if you're not a member of the Labor Party. John, good man.
Would you like to join, sir?
Well, this will be a test for us if we get you to join by the end of the podcast. Okay, raise your hand if you didn't get involved in the party through either Young Labor or student politics. Oh wow. Okay, that's interesting. That's super interesting. Right. Raise your hand if you have left the Labor Party and then have rejoined. Okay, a couple of you. Yeah, rightio. Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about two parts of membership. One, how do we actually get people to join the party? And we're going to do that by understanding what are the challenges that we, through our own experiences of being active in the party, what are the barriers that we're finding for recruitment into the party, and then talk about some of the solutions that we're seeing and hearing on the ground. Then we're going to talk about retention. And how do we retain people in the party? Because that's actually one of the biggest challenges that we actually have as an organisation. I think there's some statistics that show of the party membership that we lose a lot of people in the first 12 months. So we want to talk about, what are the challenges we're having with retention, and then what are some of the solutions that we think that we can identify to retain our membership. And before I do that, I just want to remind folks that the party membership really is very similar to a lot of other organisations. Membership-based organisations around the country, in which you would not be surprised to hear that it is older than it is younger. it is in decline, as opposed to that it's growing. It is more male-dominated than female-dominated, and that carries across all of the age brackets. So maybe you might have thought, oh, maybe there's more women than men in the younger cohorts, but no, it's not the case right across the board. And also, the biggest challenge we have is actually around retention. But we're not on our own on that. I think a lot of organisations face similar challenges. So let's talk about the problems of recruitment to the party itself. Maybe, and I'll start with Todd and we'll come back this way. Todd, why do you think it's challenging for us to get people to join our wonderful 135-year-old party?
Perhaps because there's not a I'm not aware of there being like a sort of coordinated strategy about getting more people to join. Like most people, like just from our examples, fall into it either completely self-directed, like we find some calling, I'm going to do that, or someone asks us to join. And I don't know if we have like a deliberate strategy to encourage people to join or to find a way to easily join. And I don't know, like obviously there are some people who spend a lot of time asking people to join, but we all could probably do a lot more to meet, like we all know people who are not involved in politics but like share some of our values or some of our views, colleagues or neighbours or friends and family who look up to the party or support the party or just really enjoy a political debate. And very few of us take it upon ourselves to take them on that like journey. And reflecting on my own work, working in the union movement, it is the sort of mission for every union member and delegate and official to always be trying to build out the movement, and to every person we meet is a future comrade in the Labor movement. And I don't know if people in the Labor Party have that same approach where they feel it's their job to encourage people, take people on a journey to join.
Bisma, what do you think the challenges are?
I think very similar to what Todd has said, we're looking for people in the same places. Normally, I think from being in my role now that I get to talk to a lot more people who are genuinely out in the community and don't necessarily have time, or they don't think they can invest the time to be a member of a political party, I think we could be doing a better job at explaining that you don't have to invest tens of hours a week to be actively involved in the party. It is just enough to join and show that you have those values, and then look for the people in our local places at the pub when you're talking to them, and encourage them. When you're having those political conversations, we talk a lot about politics isn't everything, but I don't think we do a very good job of explaining what it means to join a political party. It's not just a huge investment of time, but also it's important if that is a value, and it can make a huge difference. And just by joining, you are contributing to that.
And Hannah?
We have a very good recruitment system across our universities. So we have the Labor clubs, we have student politics. We, on campus, ask people to join either the local university club or to run on a ticket, and then that branches into joining the Labor Party. But we don't have a similar model elsewhere. So, your TAFEs or your apprenticeships, it just doesn't exist, and I don't think it can. So I think there's a place, Todd will get to it, for the union movement to do some of this work. But again, we've got our own challenges in that there's only certain unions that are affiliated with the Labor Party, so then there's gaps there as well. And I suppose then you have this whole missing middle. So you're sort of doing the recruitment for the younger people, the older people have the time. What about your sort of mid-age missing middle? Who's speaking to them, and do they think they've got the time to join the Labor Party? In South Australia, we've just outlawed donation laws as well. So for me, I didn't have a whole lot of time to volunteer on the election campaign. I also wasn't able to donate money. So where does that place me in joining in being an active member of the Labor Party?
So I'm hearing like a lack of a coordinated strategy. I'm hearing time. I'm hearing finding people in the community and actually engaging with them. And I'm reticent to give so much of a Victorian experience, but I am keen to get a sense from you guys if this is also the same across the other states. In Victoria, to join the Labor Party, it's based on your income. It can be expensive. You're in the top bracket. I think it's like $240 a year.
What?
Yeah. And in Victoria, we're all rich, so we're all paying that one. And the time and process, the waiting list to get cleared through our membership committee, because people think you're all stacks. So you sit in membership for a while there, the list was like a year and a half. Like, it's quicker to get into the MCC than it is to get in the Labor Party, Victoria. And also just the awareness. People, what I've discovered in my time is that people don't actually know you can join a political party. I know that sounds insane to us, right? But it's true. They're like, oh, I didn't know you can join. Is that also manifesting in other states as well? This is one of these questions where I haven't actually named anyone, and I'm just going to look at someone who wants to jump in on this one. How do you put your microphone first and we'll go to Bisma?
We might not copy the Victorian model of managing money, I think. So let's, no, it's not that expensive to join the Labor Party in South Australia. In the Northern Territory, they don't have the rolling membership renewal. And I know that that's significant for membership lapsing, essentially, because people just don't look at it and they don't know. Whereas if you're a rolling member, you're more likely to stay.
In Queensland, we've actually, so if you're from Queensland and not a member of the party, we've actually got 50-cent memberships at the moment as a bit of a recruitment drive to try and bring people along.
Catch a bus for 50 cents to get your Labor Party membership.
Labor Party member for 50 cents. But we also have concession rates as well for people. And during COVID, we brought in structured concessions where if people couldn't afford it, we still wanted them to be active members of the party. In terms of joining a party, we have similar ones where you come to a branch meeting and you can sign up and join, and then it should only be 1 month. It doesn't sit there for a very long time. So it's relatively easy to join the Labor Party in Queensland, I would say.
Very good. Todd?
I was going to say, I thought New South Wales was pretty cheap, but 50 cents is pretty... You got a real branding, 50 cents brand. There's no excuse. I remember, I don't know if they still do this, but I remember years ago when I first joined through Young Labor, they do a promotional where it's $5 for the first year for members joining through universities. I'm seeing some people nod, so that may actually still be the case. Yep, I'm seeing someone confirm that. Excellent. And... So it's $5 for like joining under 26, joining through university or through like their O-Week campaign. We have cheaper membership in New South Wales for being a member of an affiliated union as an encouragement for people who are involved in the union movement to get involved in the party. And I don't think there's no way it takes like a year to get involved. I think once you've joined, you're pretty much welcome to start turning up to a branch meeting pretty much straight away. One thing we could always do better is connecting people who join either through, say, through Young Labor or just joining online, getting them transferred over to their branch. That's always a point, I think. I think a lot of people join online and think, oh, amazing, I'm now going to be inducted into this incredible movement of people and all this stuff you see, and you're kind of waiting around for someone to call you to let you know, and that's always something we can do better. Some branches do it excellently. Great branch secretaries smash their phone calls every week. Others let them sit.
Can I touch on that, which is... Then what happens if you happen to be in a branch of maybe an unheld seat or a seat that hasn't been held by a Labor member for a long time, an inactive branch? You go to this branch meeting and you're sitting there with two 80-year-olds. You go, is this really what I've signed up for? So I'd like to sort of discuss a bit of whether the sub-branch model is even the best way to go.
Just for those who are not from South Australia, just to translate, when Hannah says branch, she's saying branch, okay? Just so you're clear on that, just in case you didn't pick up on it. Okay, well, we've got a bit of shit off the liver. Let's talk about maybe some solutions. And I want to go to you, Bisma, because I think you've got some good news stories in terms of how, certainly in your state, that you're actually trying to engage with folks in actively recruiting them into the party.
Yes, so for context, we recently lost the Queensland state election, so Labor is now in opposition after 9 years in government, and we've got a lot of rebuilding to do. I think when you have rebuilding to do, it's actually a good time to go out and do a bit of soul searching, and part of that is trying to find our people and talk to them about the importance of joining the party. I also think we are at a time where everything that's been going on with One Nation has presented as an opportunity, I think, to highlight the risk that there is at this level, and especially in Queensland as well, where we've got, regional Queensland and southeast Queensland is very different. So what we have started doing is actually organising coordinated events where we encourage both our federal and state caucus along with the branch members to come forward and bring friends and family and do it just at a local pub and use social media and actually have a coordinated strategy around how we're inviting people along. And even if they come to an event, they're not forced to join the party. It's more about having the conversation of the benefits of joining the party and why it is important. And hopefully through that, part of it is also being able to build the Labor vote back. So that's how we've structured it, and it seems to be going well. guess it's all still very relatively new. I think we've only just had 6 months of it. But, for example, we had one in Cairns where 25 people signed up. So it is an all-in. We do need, everyone on board and having that conversation. To your point, Todd, it can't just be, certain people having those conversations and then it's the same person in one branch who's trying to recruit everyone. It needs to be a broader conversation with the entire party.
In 2012, I was in Cairns on that campaign. I couldn't get 25 people to go on a booth, so that's great. We've got 25 people to join the party. Hannah, you started to touch on a little bit of what's going on here in South Australia, but Young Labor and student politics have had some incredible success.
Young Labor here, I asked them, why don't you have your meetings in the pub anymore? They said, there's too many of us. Also, I think they're not drinking as much these days. This generation's getting a bit soft. Which is great news. I mean, they're doing very well, and Young Labor here are doing things not even directed by the senior party to do. They've established a northern and a southern coordinator to make sure that the regions are represented. I'll tell you what sort of the South Australian branch is doing more broadly, which is sort of briefings from ministers, members of parliament, and that's, brings people in. But I've also got a little idea of what we could do. Merchandise. Like, you sign up for a footy club, you get a scarf or you get something. I think people love that stuff. What's the difference between being a Labor supporter and volunteering and handing out on a booth and going door knocking to being a member of the party, besides sitting in dusty branch meetings, is like, let's get a scarf around the neck. Let's get a beanie on their head.
We love our merch, there's no doubt about that. So these are two great initiatives going on in Queensland and South Australia. No pressure, Todd, but you are on the committee of organising a recruitment. So in New South Wales, what's some of the good stories that you can tell us?
Yeah, we've done a few things in the last couple of years to try to push and encourage recruitment. A couple of years ago, we opened up, we call them sort of branch capacity grants, I think is the name for them, and it was a bit like a Shark Tank style, like pitching of ideas by branches to recruit people, where people put in submissions to the committee to review and have a look at funding initiatives to try to get the branch more organised. A lot of them are gazebos. Like most branches just ask for a gazebo so they can go and do stalls. And we funded a lot of gazebos. And it has worked. There's a lot of branches who are now like, well, now that we have all this infrastructure, we're going to set up a market stall every month and we're going to run a community petition on something that we care about. Sometimes it is as simple as a gazebo. Other branches had cool ideas like digital ads, and others are holding politics in the pubs event. But we just make funding available every couple of years and we try a bunch of stuff. Obviously, we're going to always do more work in testing the success of it. But I kind of feel like there's no bad ideas with a branch. It's not a lot of money we're talking about, but for a lot of branches, they just need that lift. Otherwise, I think a lot of branches have to do all their fundraising internally, and it's a lot of people who are already time poor, giving up their time for the party. So that's been one thing that we have done that I think has been quite good. And every year we get some, obviously there's still a lot of gazebo demands, but there are lots of good ideas that come up every now and then. And one thing we would love to do soon, I think, is probably showcase some of the success stories, because we're a couple of years into the program now. So hopefully we'll have a few good success stories out of New South Wales.
What about during campaigns? Have you found that, particularly in your campaign, Bisma, did you find that just through osmosis you were bringing more people into the party?
Yeah, so I focused a lot during my campaign on door knocking, and this is not just to say, it can be done. I spoke to so many people. I think we had about 6 people. I was a candidate for about 8 months, door knocked for 8 months, and we had that many people join the party, all because they told me they'd always voted Labor. They were very happy to support me, and I simply just had to ask them. And again, I think, just one ask, and people don't know they can join the party or what it means to join the party. So when you say, if you voted Labor your whole life and we're at risk here, why not just come and join the movement and see what that's about? And again, then it becomes about retention. So the first issue is, how are we getting people in the door? And then how are we making it tempting for them to stay past that 12-month mark? And what can the party do to make sure that they continue to do that? I think the other thing is, when people are busy in their lives, they're not thinking about, I'm going to join a political party and what that's going to mean for us. So I think explaining what does joining a political party mean and what is in it for you as well. And a lot of that is around the values-based, which I know we'll touch on.
I mean, one thing that in the 2014 Victorian state election, when we began the Community Action Network program, which is basically our field program, what we didn't realise by the end of the campaign, and we sort of did some analysis, is that out of the sort of 6,500 volunteers that were campaigning in our marginal seats, 65% of them were not members of the Labor Party. And I remember, and this is in some ways how fucked things are in Victoria. I remember at an admin committee meeting when I reported this, someone got up at admin and said, "You're not joining them up to the party, are you, Stephen?" Accusing me as if I'm doing branch stacking or something and trying to, use this as a way of getting into Parliament or something. Like, I was just like, oh my God. And I had to reassure them as a party official, no, I'm not signing people up to the Labor Party, which you think would be fundamentally my job. What's even more nuts is she was in my faction. Not my sub-faction though. And that explains something about Victorian politics.
So Victorian.
Okay, so, but what we did learn 6 months later is we went back and then we tracked that, and a lot of those folks did join the party just through osmosis by sitting next to a Labor Party volunteer who said, "You remember Labor Party? Yeah, you should come to a branch meeting." So people actually did slowly, and that continued on all the way through the field program for the next 8 or 9 years, and the party membership in certain areas, in certain seats where we're running field, grew. So now, Bisma just talked before about retention, so let's talk about retention. Because that is one of the biggest problems. And I did a bunch of research before today's episode, which is rare. I don't normally do that, so you should feel lucky. That actually retention is a massive challenge for most political parties around the world. So this isn't something that is just unique for Labor. And a bad example rather, is the Corbyn example, which, for a while there, people looked at it as the model. Why can't we be like Jeremy Corbyn? Thousands of people are joining the Labor Party. So what it turned out to be is that yes, when in the lead up to the election, the election of the leader of the Labor Party in the UK, they offered £3 sign-ups to then get a vote in the leadership. 500,000 people joined the Labor Party in the UK. It became the biggest political party in Western Europe. Now, here's the problem. None of those people campaigned. None of those people brought any more money into the party. Branches swelled from having 25 people in a branch to having 1,200 people in a branch, but none of them came to branch meetings. None of them made any contribution to the party, and then eventually they all just drifted away. And the Greens had a similar problem in Germany as well. They grew so quickly by reducing the membership and having this online access into getting to the party, and they bloated, but they weren't organised enough to then actually cope with this membership growth. And then people just sort of went, well, why did I just join? And then eventually they all just walked out as well. So retention is a huge problem for us. So I want to go back to the panel and maybe, have we got time? Let's talk about why this is a problem for us. And I might start with you, Todd. Why do we think retention is a problem for the party?
Well, I think it's probably because there's such a patchy experience in terms of joining the party. So when I think about people who have been members of the party for a really long time, it's about sort of finding their tribe or finding their community. One of the reasons I got involved because I was really interested in politics, and I've stayed because I really like the people who were involved in politics. I've really enjoyed all the relationships and the friendships and all the communities. And one of the things, we were talking about this at the New South Wales Labor Conference. It's just like the National. It's like a big family reunion where you're running into people you haven't seen. Like Hannah and I haven't seen each other for a couple of years. Actually, it's just nice to see people you haven't seen in a bit. So I guess it's patchy. It's like some people join and they find their people and they have this wonderful experience, this sense of community and this engagement, and they hang out at the branch meeting, but then they'll go for a beer afterwards, or they'll catch up for a coffee on the weekend, and they look forward to standing at their polling booth with the people in their party. And other people join the branch, turn up, no one says g'day to them. The debate seems really, it's like most people have never heard of the rules of debate before they join a branch meeting about moving, seconding and right of reply and procedural motions. Some of that does not make sense. So for some people it's really patchy, and some people I think take this on themselves as members of the Labor Party and the Labor movement. It is all of our jobs to look after everyone that comes and joins, and it's our job to engage them. Retention and recruitment are our dual tasks. And I think other people are like, well, I learnt the hard way, good luck. We could do a lot better at that.
Before we go to Bisma, raise your hand if you have ever been a branch secretary or president or had some sort of role? Yeah. Keep your hand up if you got training in how to do that. Yeah, a couple of years. Okay, a little bit of training.
There is training. I'm not sure I've been, but there is training.
Yeah. Okay, it exists. What branch what state are you from? New South Wales. Okay, very good.
Well done, Todd.
I say patchy, I mean across the country, not just,
Yeah, good job. Good job, Todd. Bisma.
I had two experiences after I joined the party. I was in Young Labor, I was 19, so I sort of did have a group of friends that I was in university with and got to do that. But then when I moved out to Sandgate, I had a completely different experience. My local branch now has over 120 members that don't all come to the branch meeting, but we have about 30 to 50 people who come every month, and they all live locally, most of them, and they are just members of the community. And I think a lot of that has come to, and there's members who've been there for 20 years, 30 years, and that is because they see it as a genuine way to be able to communicate with people who live in their community that they see once a month, and then go have dinner with them, but then are also there during hard times in their lives. They see them as genuine friends. And I think this is the issue that we come into when, ultimately it's politics, right? Like, we can't talk about how we retain people without talking about the fact that you're not going to necessarily get along with everyone, but there is a responsibility on us as members of the Labor Party of having those conversations, but then leaving it to either conference floor or leaving it, out at branch meeting, and then ultimately saying we all have the same values. We want to see Labor governments elected. And you can't be toxic. And I think I've certainly seen a lot of people join the party and leave the party because they found it to be toxic. So we need to be talking about that cultural change as well. We can certainly have conversation about policy and have disagreements, but there does need to be a level of respect and acknowledgement that we share similar values.
The Victorian model, we changed actually, because we used to have it based on our federal electorates, and within that federal electorate there could be multiple local branches, right? And so in some electorates you would have like a branch based on the geography within, like, say, the Carlton branch. But in some branches we actually had branches based on ethnicity, so like a Lebanese-speaking branch or a Turkish-speaking branch. And in some ways... when we moved to the South Australian model, which is each branch, there's only one branch and it's based on the state electorate. So there's one branch for Albert Park, there's one branch for Melbourne, there's one branch for Richmond, right? And I thought that was a good thing because it actually was forcing people who were maybe not aligned factionally to come and hang out with each other more often. And I think that's a good thing. What I didn't realise is that a lot of those, particularly the branches that are language-based, are missing each other, in that we're not enabling them to catch up every now and then and just sort of talk in their own tongue or just sort of see each other in that way as well. And I'm not sure whether or not this change in Victoria has worked. It's got time to run out, but I just want to get a sense from you. I mean, do we need branches, Hannah?
Yeah, but they can be amalgamated. I think they need to be amalgamated. So when I was 20 years old, they couldn't find anybody to run for a state seat of Hammond here, so I put up my hand and my name and my face was on there. It's Murray Bridge. It's about an hour's drive out of Adelaide, and I did the right thing and drove up there with my dad and met the local branch. 2 men. That's it. And so, and true believers, we came within striking distance this year, but unfortunately didn't get over the line. And then you would go to a sub-branch meeting in Adelaide and it's booming, right? 50 people, all really active, all great, go for a beer after, really social. Then you've got Young Labour's similarly social. I think groups such as Lean, such as the Labor Women's Network are excellent for fostering that. I think potentially just for the way that our party works, you probably do need branches for voting for pre-selection purposes, but I think we can do better in giving opportunity for people to align with people of similar values to them. And I always think of those 2 blokes up at Murray Bridge, and it just is luck of the draw to where you live, to if you get to be in a really good engaged branch, or if you're forever just waiting for that.
And one was on the left and one was on the right, and they did not get on at all. How many folks here are from regional Australia? Okay. Todd, when I was up at the New South Wales conference, I was struck by the strength of country Labor.
Yep.
Culturally. And I just want to get a. I think there's some good things going on in that space in New South Wales in terms of supporting because it's a challenge to attend branch meetings. Queensland's a massive state as well, a bit different Victoria. But how can we facilitate experiences for folks that are not in the urban areas that makes the party a valuable experience for them and want to keep coming back and getting involved?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. Like, I guess regional, and not having grown up I grew up in suburban Sydney, so it's not been my experience trying to organise in the regional areas, but you hear evidently there's going to be a structural issue, which is there's less of a population base more often. We know that the kinds of people who are more likely to get involved in politics more generally are going to be more middle class, more university educated, more engaged, people with a lot more time on their hands. Like, the model of political engagement is disproportionately benefits a lot of, like, caters to the kinds of people who are involved, and that's a feature of all systems, that they effectively kind of have like a feedback loop on that regard. One of the things at New South Wales that I think we do well is that because our model is the geographic-based branches and our delegates to the conference come from the SECs, which are set by the Electoral Commission, there is that proportionality across the state, and the sort of there is as many delegates with influence from a urban area as there is from the SEC in a regional area by the nature of the way that we divvy up the delegates and such. We also, and for people who had a chance to go to New South Wales Labor Conference, which I shamelessly will admit is the best the best of the Labor conferences. A national conference is not too bad, but there's my cheap applause line for the day. We make a real moment of the Sunday morning of the country Labor debate, and it's a debate that ranges. We have policy debates throughout the day, and everything comes back to this country Labor debate, which is a really good opportunity. You hear these incredible stories about people who, just like Hannah's story of like the two people holding up the branch in a regional area in Nationals Tiger Country, telling these incredible stories of the activism they're doing. There's some really good stories out of that. So that's one thing I think we definitely do, because I think one of the reasons that, to your question before about do we need branches, branches were developed under the Labor model years ago, and that was the most effective way for people to get involved in politics. And almost all political civil society organisations had an equivalent of a branch, joining a community group, having an evening meeting. Organisations that have that structure have been, in terms of their participation, declining for a long time, because we just see civil participation declining. We're always going to need a role for branches, but I do just want to single out that I do think all of the other avenues that people have for political participation in the Labor movement is also really equally valid. Like things like Lean is obviously like the clear example, right, of one of the people coming together from across areas around policy issues. We need more of that, not less. And they should sit alongside branches, on top of branches, part of branches, the whole thing, and mix lots of ways to engage, not fewer ways to engage. And as much as possible, trying to mitigate not just having this like relative feedback loop of just the same people who join recruit the same people that join, and on we go. Yeah.
Bisma, we were talking before the show about the relationship that the party has with the community that it's operating in, and I wonder if part of the challenge that we're having with retention is understanding what our purpose is beyond just handing out election day or getting involved in your local branch. How do you consider you being a member of Parliament and representing both the Labor Party but also a community, how can you align these two communities, and maybe that gives some purpose to those branch members going, oh, this is actually great, we're actually bringing more people in and we're growing? And
I've started doing a couple of things. So one, I religiously call anyone that joins my local area. Obviously you have to ask them to become branch registered, but whether they do that or not is ultimately a decision for them. But I offer them my thanks for them to take, they've taken an interest in politics and they've joined their political party. So I always try to call them, and it's easy to do when it's a couple of people a month rather than a big list, I must admit. The other thing I found, like I came through Young Labor, I did, lots of campaigning, and I didn't see myself running necessarily, but what I did find is it's actually such an easy ask as an MP to say, would you like to have a coffee and talk about politics? I do these little videos just on Instagram where I open it up to people, and anyone that's interested in progressive politics, I'm more than happy to catch up at a local cafe. And surprisingly, I was actually really surprised at this. People do. People have reached out and said they're more than happy to have a chat. And from that, I give them my time. And in return, a lot of them seem to be interested in either joining or keeping that conversation going. And there are some who haven't joined, but then come out and support us at events, or are willing to campaign and come to community festivals. And I think that's a big step, towards joining a membership. Something else we do in Queensland as well is we use our equity groups. So we had a recent rule change where people are actually able to join a branch when they join an equity group. So not it's not sort of a traditional way of you join the Labor Party, you go into a branch meeting. You can actually choose to join a branch after you've joined, and just go to an equity group and then pick that, and then you have to go to that branch meeting. But I think it's about opening ways of how people can engage. So you might have come along to either a lean or a multicultural Labor event, and you've decided you would like to join the party. You can join the party and then nominate, and then you do have to physically go and join that branch, but you can nominate to do that, and that is one step done. Yep. And I think the other thing we really need to focus on is, if we've gotten people in the door, we actually still need to be communicating with people and not take them for granted. I think that's a big thing to say. We've got this person who is really loyal and comes along to every branch meeting, but what are we investing in that person who's giving up their time and supporting us?
Hannah, do you want to jump on that?
That message has been sort of heard loud and clear, I think, around the country, and I do think parties are doing a lot better. So the local state secretary here routinely sends out an email, and it's just a quick summary about what Labor's been doing and sort of talking points, because members kept on asking, my neighbour's riling me up about this negative gearing change. What am I meant to say? How do I? And so it's helping with that. And then it also then allows these members to be a bit more confident when it comes time for a campaign and get asked, do you want to come and door knock? Because they kind of already know what's going on and how to talk about it to people. Yeah.
The other thing I think about that I hear from folks is saying, like, outside of an election campaign and the regular branch meetings, I don't, as a leader within a local party, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Does anyone else sort of find that that's been an experience in your... Yeah, okay. I don't know. Can you tell that I'm just making up questions as opposed to the ones I told them that we were going to do? Does anyone... I mean, I've got some thoughts on that, obviously, from a community organising standpoint, but I'm interested to hear some reflections from you guys. Does anyone want to...
I mean, I think there are some branches out there, and I think some, branch secretaries or presidents who take it upon themselves, like this sort of traditional model of the branch of being a political unit in a community and being really active and engaging. And I think there are other branches that are waiting for the head office to send them the campaign pack. And we probably need to do both, right? We need to encourage branches and train them up so they can run good local community campaigns. Like every community in Australia needs more funding and resourcing from a federal Labor government, right? And that's sort of say federal Labor government isn't doing lots, and it is absolutely, but our mission is never ending, right? So every branch has some local issue they can go run a petition on this weekend at the local shops, right? Go and talk to your local MP, or if you're in an unheld seat, go and talk to the last person who ran as the Labor candidate. Find a local issue and just go build up a list of people. Like, easiest thing in the world in campaigning, list building. Start with that. Go and run a petition. Go talk to a bunch of people. Go hold some events. Go hold a community politics in the pub or a community town hall. Like, go and do things, and you'll be surprised how many people turn up. So that's one part of the recruitment, but also the retention. Like, we've got to give activists need activities. So you have to give people things to do, and they've got to find themselves sometimes. But that to me, it's incumbent on all of us to do that. And maybe we can do a lot more training, a lot more support, but we've got to arm people with things to do.
Any others want to jump on that before we wrap up? We've got 4 more minutes.
We're never that far from an election. I think once you stop campaigning, just start all over again.
We'd gladly have you all over Victoria. Okay, we need to wrap this up because we've got the next group in there. Can I say, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who came along today. It's wonderful to do a podcast where I could get to see everyone. Can we thank our 3 guests today, Bisma, Todd and Hannah? And also, just to let you know, we've got one more show, and it's on tomorrow night. It's at 5:15 at the Jade. It's the Feeney Files with Jesse McCrone. It's a ticketed event. Think of it as a boozy branch meeting, or a boozy sub-branch meeting, as Hannah would call it. Come along, 5:15. We'll have a lot of fun. Drinks at bar prices. Hope to see you there. Thanks very much, guys. Hey, Social Democrats. Thanks for listening. Today's episode was hosted by myself, Stephen Donnelly, and produced by Grace Eyre. If you like the show, please rate us and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really like the show, then join our Patreon community for early and ad-free access to each episode. We regularly take questions and comments from our Patreon members, so get in there if you want to have your say. And finally, get all the latest updates and bonus content by following Socially Democratic on our social media channels. The links are in our show notes. See you next Friday.